Good morning or good evening, beautiful souls, depending on where you're listening from. And welcome to today's edition. For me, what time is it here? It's 10 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii. I know we're in different time zones, all of us. And I'm so happy for today's call. It's in a special time because Stewart is in the UK. And we didn't want to have him come in at 2 o'clock in the morning anymore, even though he's amazing.
Thank God.
I know why we finally thought about this. But
anyway, well, you've been, I think over the last 3 occasions that you've invited me onto Beyond the Ordinary, you've so accommodated me at 8 o'clock. So I'm so honored.
Wonderful. No, it's fantastic. But I'm so excited about today's call. I haven't connected with Stewart since the last time you were on. Last season, and it feels like I'm connecting with a long lost friend. This connection between Stewart and I is just magnificent. And again, as many of y'all have experienced, you can feel what's transmitted when Stewart and I get together. And if you haven't experienced Stewart and I, or this is your first time on Beyond the Ordinary, just welcome. And I want to invite you to sit back and receive. And we'll open up to Q&A. We'll get you with questions of Stewart and the articulation that comes from his deep insight and his capacity to read energy and interpret it, and an ambassador from the angelic in so many different ways. So again, it's going to be a phenomenal call. And again, if you're not familiar with Stewart, let me tell you a little bit more about him, but really it's the experience of Stewart that says it all. So how do we start? Legendary master of voice alchemist, radiance coach, and angelic emissary. Stewart Pearce was the head of voice at the Webber Douglas Academy, London, from 1980 to 1997. And as I'm reading that, Stewart, I would say he's the voice of wonder is what I was reading, and just stopping there, but truly. He helped pioneer Shakespeare's Globe Theater between 1997 and 2010, and he has coached luminaries such as Eddie, how I pronounce Eddie's last name? Redmayne?
Oh, Redmayne.
Redmayne. Matthew Good, Hugh Bonneville, Mark Rylance, Amelia Clark, Margaret Thatcher, Mo Wellman, Benazir Bhutto, Diana, Princess of Wales, Marianne Williamson, and the London 2012 Olympic bid, to name just a few. Being an angelic emissary for over 30 years, Stewart has published Angels and the Keys to Paradise, The Angels of Atlantis, Book and Oracle, The Angelic Heart Sigils Oracle, The Heart Note, and The Alchemy of Voice, alongside several award-winning recordings such as The Angels of Atlantis Soul Calls. And Stewart's current publication is Diana, The Voice of Change, Revelations about Diana's Life Principles. And a couple of times before, when Stewart was on, or maybe it was a few times ago, the energy of Diana coming through and the channeling that was just whole next level. And I'm wondering who might come through today, but as long as it's you and whatever that higher calling is that you tap in through, Stewart, I just welcome it always. Thank you for being back, and how wonderful to have you back on the show, of course.
It's such a joy. It's such a joy to be here. You know, I was just reminded as you were speaking that I seem to remember that our computers crashed, didn't they? And we had to finalize. Finalize the session something like 20 minutes early because we just couldn't get back online.
Right.
The energy was so we could both feel it, and we were both talking about the extraordinary energies that were moving up and down our spine, and then suddenly, let's pray that doesn't happen.
Well, we had a lot of energy coming up before we went live today, just talking about possibilities of what's coming up as well. So it's incredible, again, the energy that catalyzes between the two of us. Now, Stewart, I'm curious, and we haven't really gotten into context of this, and everybody, you are as much in wonder as I am. Because today we're talking about Angel Heart Spa. Stewart, what's Angel Heart Spa? How's this coming up for a topic of conversation, and why is it so relevant right now?
Yeah, great questions. And so when I received your invitation, I immediately spent a week in meditation asking the angels, okay, what is it you wish me to reveal? And my prayer is a prayer derived from the Course in Miracles, which literally goes, teach me what you would have me think. Teach me what you would have me feel. Teach me what you would have me do. Teach me what you would have me be. I surrender to you. And then we wait. Not with any form of expectation.
I
Just
have
in
to
the space.
I have to share because before we got on the call, I went into the Course of Miracles invocation. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. And the whole dialogue with that. So again, the synchronicities I love. Amazing.
So there we are. And so what I saw was this extraordinary mandala, part of which I've created as a meme, which I believe April has put onto the the offering on page on your website. I heard very clearly through Metatron, Michael, and Radziel, who are the 3 of the 12 of the angels of Atlantis that work with me very much. Michael is the leader who is leading us towards personal sovereignty. Metatron, of course, is the cosmic teacher, so is the interface with our lives and the Akashic. And Radziel is the angel of the divine mysteries, who was with you a lot in Egypt just now, leading you in the right places, because wherever I go in Egypt, there is Radziel, coming through whatever the signs are. You look up in one of the temples and there are the bats, it's always, we always know, or crows suddenly pass. Oh, there's Radziel. And there's always a leading point, a signpost. Anyway, so the angels came forth and they said, we want you to reveal the angel heart spa, call it the angel heart spa. In other words, the way that we cluster to you best, the way that we flock in to bring profound supernatural healing, particularly this time of crisis, because here you are potentially facing the greatest humanitarian crisis since 1939. Where there could be on this occasion, and of course, we all know what I'm referring to, the aspect of the fact that there could be an ending to this. There could be, I don't believe personally it will be, but through nuclear holocaust. And so we're all gathering, we're deeply stirred. Bring this in because we want to flock into the whole aspect of your heart, so that if you regard your heart as a spa, we can come in really strongly. And the reasons for why this is so is they gave me a poem. And I'd love to, if I may, speak that poem. It's not that long.
Please, yes.
Okay? Because it really evokes it. It's the heart jewel. So the heart spa has within it a jewel, which is the heart. In the deepest depths of you and me, in the deepest depths of we, there lies a jewel in beauty's store, shining forth eternally. Within that precious jewel, within that priceless piece of we, lies a zone beyond all time, lies a place beyond all space. Within that sacred source of light, within that precious, glowing we, lives a love beyond all love, waiting patiently. Waiting for you, waiting for me, waiting for all to see. The beauty that is inside of you, the beauty that is inside of me, the beauty that is we. In the deepest depths of you and me are the deepest depths of we. Lies a wisdom of love and joy, whispering for all eternity.
Wow. Oh, that's a poem and a transmission. I could feel the depth of that.
So, in prose, what they're doing is they're reminding us of the essential principle of how our hearts are really being awakened at this time. That it seems that as we've been through 2 years of horrific global pandemic suffering, which has really taken us into the very bone marrow, it's gnawed into the very core of our bones, that now that we are through, because isn't it interesting, COVID is left, We know that there are pockets of suffering through Omicron, but literally coronavirus is becoming an endemic, not a pandemic. It's suddenly, and in a year or two, it will become as common as the common cold or influenza. So that's gone, but now we're being taken into another space. So what the angels are saying is, please, can we evoke the crucible of the heart? Because there are unique sonic and photonic lights or light emissions that are arising from the very core of the galaxy, from the heart of the galaxy, that are being emitted deep into our beings through the trajectory or the lineage of the Christos, through the love light circuitry in the middle of the cosmos. This then brings in Saint Germain, my master of 50 years, who is speaking of the Christ consciousness. And within the heart of we have such strength in solidarity, that release of the aloneness and the movement into all oneness, where we feel that we can support one another, even though we still define energetic boundaries, and we are respectful and reverential of those boundaries, that we come into such an incandescent presence within our hearts that we can truly feel that the Christ consciousness is here with us now through our empathic and compassionate mechanisms and expressions, so that we literally become the we that will change the world entirely. But we need to be able to surrender into the we, and the angels want to help us.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Stewart. And I love your charge in that, and you're listening to the directive from the angelics. I'm curious how you're, again, the special offer tape, part of it, and the big part of it is a personal session with you. And we'll get more into details about that. How are you facilitating people who are having sessions with you to really get into this aspect of their divine and inherent power? Because that's really the calling that I feel is happening. I feel what's happening collectively is all a calling for us to step into that angelic presence within ourselves.
Yeah, well, the core of the work, apropos what I've just been sharing, is the nature of miracle mindedness, and how we're being given this unique opportunity to recognize how we can truly live the fact that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so what that simply means, I believe, is that if we can allow ourselves to pause in stillness, and not to get constantly caught up in the preoccupation of the trauma. Difficult, of course, because we know that when our neurology is disturbed, we're on fire, and it's really difficult to find stillness. But if we can, through meditation, through yoga, through Tai Chi, through walks in nature, through being with our loved ones, really find stillness, through chant, find stillness deep within our hearts, there is an impulse that is being awoken within us at the moment that brings the counsel of our soul, the heart being the seat of the soul, the heart spa, opens us to an extraordinary gift that is being given to us at this time through the Christos. So that we see, if we lean into the fact that we're part of an infinitely unfolding creative possibility full of love and joy, there is no point of completion. It is just an eternal unfolding. And as you and I both know, the richer, the more mature we are in Earth years, the richer it becomes, the more we discover about what we don't know. Mm-hmm. And so the heart aspect is leaning into where the dear one, where the individual who comes feels themselves to be in relation to the circumference of their whole life. So mostly I met with the drama of what's going on in life. And so I go right into the very core of where the drama is held in the soma, in the physiology of the individual's body through the chakra system. And then the angels step in and provide the most remarkable supernatural psychic healing, where the individual is led back into the cosmic breath of moving back into stillness, where the soul heals all fragmentation.
Wow, beautiful. And I love how you're articulating this. I'm having some profound experiences, personal experiences, and they're all I can't say they're all within me, but a lot of them, they're emanating from this place of surrender and faith. Um, that I can only say it's powerfully directed by my connection with the divine and my intimacy with the divine, and it's blowing me away. And I know I'm accessing this, and then it's available for others, because it always lands that for me. I start witnessing directly others having an experience, and it's like this effect that occurs. It's like running a 4-minute mile. You have someone break it, then it just proliferates in the capacity of other people to get there. Not saying that I was the one running the 4-minute mile, but I'm experiencing that aspect. You asked me about Egypt and some of the things that I experienced, and one thing that I didn't mention soon, I'm curious of what your awareness is around this, or your insight. And I asked this because I want to invite everyone on the call into perhaps exploring this with me. But I was in a big group event as part of a separate, smaller group that I was in. And I was walking around. There was 2,000 people in this scenario, and beautiful people. I felt very much at home. But what I witnessed is that I wasn't seeing them as individuated egos anymore. I was experiencing them as souls. Something shifted. Something shifted. And I'm curious as to what your experiences with that may be, Stuart, or maybe what you're even getting energetically is opening up within the field of potential within the collective consciousness.
Oh, so many impressions, so many deep cellular impressions that are also awakenings about, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I've had this experience. And we know that we've moved through a vast corridor of light, which is the beginning of the age of Aquarius. We know this. And so the Atlantean wisdom is really, truly awakened. And of course, the group that you were traveling through is awakened by the sensibility of the Atlantean wisdom, particularly through their leader, who I know very well. I've met him several times. So I know exactly who you're talking about. So I feel that the field of reference that he develops and the people that are drawn to him as teacher, that they are also awakening on that level. So when they come together, the collated energy morphs into this extraordinary crystalline network of grace in the group. And literally they cease being individualistic, and they become, as it were, amorphously part of the one soul of unity consciousness within that particular group, which is how we were in Atlantis.
Wow. Well, to glimpse that is extraordinary, and to feel that but again, if I'm feeling that, that's becoming more available collectively, not just in this collective small group, but
absolutely,
and interdimensionally and galactically as well.
Yeah. I mean, the ripples, that starts with an epicenter, doesn't it? Awakened by whomever. It could be a leading illuminated light worker. It could be a bodhisattva, or it could be a few people coming together. And because it's seeded within our consciousness, that it literally allows us to drop the energetic blissfulness. It suddenly goes through our fields. And this is why the heart spa is so crucial, because it's bringing us constantly back to not living here, which is where, living here like we've been doing for some, but really, really coming into this part of our bodies. There's a reference here, which is that we know that the Aztec and the Mayan and the Kogi were really Atlantean refugees. That when the civilization moved into a point of completion, which many of our brothers and sisters see as being very traumatic, my belief is the teaching that I received, particularly from Saint Germain, who was Thoth, or Thoth, or Toth, or Jehuti, that we knew what was happening. We were living a much higher vibrational frequency, probably at that stage with 9, 10, 11 open vortices of DNA, because we know we have 12 helix within our bodies, but we're only living a double helix at the moment. So we were really aware. However, we knew that we'd reached a point of completion, as all things are born and then complete. And it moves on. We're part of an infinitely unfolding creative possibility. So these extraordinary beings move to the area that we now know as South America. And they each have within the heart of their culture a statement which is called the Shante Ishtar. And the Shante Ishtar means the secret chamber of the heart. So I feel again, we're coming back into the spa of the heart, you know, the healing center, the healing chamber of the heart, the Shante Ishtar, that if we can bring all of our consciousness into that point, we awaken supernatural powers of extraordinary degree. And I feel you, because of all the work you've done on yourself, the purity of your leadership, you know, because you meet us all with such integrity and such love and such non-judgmentalism, in the diversity of all that you meet, you reach into that space deep within your being and you emerge from that space. So to be in the sacred land of Egypt, in ancient Kemet, that you would feel it even more specifically because of the level, particularly over COVID, because nobody's been there.
Right.
It was like during when the revolution took place in 2011. I just kept taking my retreats there, but there was nobody there. I mean, John, you walked into Karnak and there was nobody there, right?
Yeah, empty. It was empty. It was amazing. Yeah.
And normally there are thousands of people.
I had access to private rooms and guards who wanted to take me to places that they wouldn't otherwise take people. And just, it was remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. So we move into the interdimensional currencies of that extraordinary land. I mean, for those wonderful people who are listening in or watching in, you know, we're talking of Egypt. And of course, Egypt, as we know, is a recolonization of Atlantis. And it's because the river Atla that went right the way through the center of Atlantis is re-represented, so to speak, in the Nile, the longest river in the world. And of course, those jewels along the Nile are the sacred temples, these powerful vortices that are these geomantic linking points with the heavens, with the stars. Like, did you have I think you've been there before, but did you go to Dendera, to Hathor's temple?
Oh my goodness, yes, it's my favorite temple. It's just,
right?
I can spend days there, yes.
And it's the only temple where we can get to the second floor, to the ceiling, as it were, to the roof. And right there is the Venus room, the room of resurrection, which is directly in connection with Venus.
I'm getting
they knew this stuff. And so I feel that, you know, there are many things that I could say, but, you know, coming back to what is germane in our meeting this evening or this today, I feel that's what was taking place. So an interdimensional corridor of light opened for you.
And again, we all have access to that. Those lights are reaching our realm and we're becoming consciously aware that we're interacting and creating with it.
Yeah. But what I want to say, this is really, really important. You are focused and consistent.
Yes.
In your devotion, your dedication, and your discipline as a soul wanderer, as a soul leader, as a spiritual teacher. You are consistent. And we know that our attention, our mental body attention, is so pixelated at the moment by all of the stimuli in our world that we spend a lot of time, bum, 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 bum. So we keep breaking up focus. And if we can bring ourselves through stillness, through the breath, back into stillness, the whole of our consciousness, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, comes into that space where the doorway opens into the liminal. And I find myself having to say this a lot to dear ones who come because their lives are in tatters.
Right.
And, you know, and there's manifestation of cancer or dissociative behaviors or disintegration of family units, whatever's going on, the shit's hitting the fan. And one of the reasons why is because they're running around like headless chickens. And one of the things that I'm saying is, look, can we just come back into the stillness of the divine breath dropping in? And that's what I was meaning earlier on. The soul literally retraces the wholeness of all oneness and brings us into the reintegration. And therefore, my firm conviction is that we cease looking at the cross with that sacrificial victim hanging on the cross in relation to the great Christos. And we see him resurrected. So we realize, oh, you mean the reason why I'm in extremis is because I'm being reconnected with eternal life.
Mm. Beautiful. Oh my God, you just touched on something that's, I can't say it's a pet peeve, but it's an awareness that I had growing up Catholic and Latino, that our symbol for Catholicism is the Christ on the cross. And it came to me quite a few years ago. It's like, why is our symbol the suffering? Why is it that we're holding on to the suffering? What is it that entrained that belief in us, or to hold on to energy, if you will, not even a belief, because it becomes part of our fabric as we interact and relate to it. Again, as we have relationship with it, what do we choose to have relationship with? And so the Christos, the awakened, the resurrected, the eternal, was what really got birthed in my relationship with that energy, expanded, and in ways that I was pushing away before, that I was pulling away. I didn't want to associate with it. It didn't make sense the way that I grew up with it. But when it came back alive, it's something awoke within my Christed consciousness, within my sacred heart. And it lives in me consistently, continuously.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, the reframe and what we're choosing to have a relationship with, and the awareness around it.
Yes, yes, yes. If we can arrest the nature of sin, I mean, you know what I mean by that. Cease allowing the notion of sin to pollute us. Because if we sin, we need to feel guilty, we need to feel shame, we need to feel denial, which are those three emotional weapons of Roman Catholicism in a classical form. And by the way, I mean, I say that not as a judgment, just as an observation, just as a discernment rather than a judgment. And what's wonderful about your life is that you've been able to shuffle off those coils.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, that the word sin means miss the mark.
Mm.
And it's a term that comes from archery.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, miss the mark.
You
Wow.
sin, miss the mark, And, in my fascination with language, so it's just a mistake. So take again.
Wow. Oh,
but what we do is we perjure ourselves, don't we? Then we get guilty and shameful. Oh my God, oh my God. And of course, we're forced into those behaviors somehow through our educational process. I mean, I remember through my early childhood, because I wasn't like the other children, I was totally in connection with multidimensionality. And as we've shared this before, so I won't go on, but I'm deeply synesthetic and dyslexic. So I couldn't read and I couldn't do basic sums. It just didn't make sense. Now I know why, of course, because I was supposed to be doing something else with my consciousness. But the number of times that I was told, you are nothing and you will always be nothing. Yeah. And a little voice inside me saying, I think I'm something.
Oh my God. That's actually a topic I want to get into here in just a little bit. It's so important. Oh my God, it's 10:10 over here. It's like the angels are speaking. So they want me to expand this topic, but I want to digress just a little bit. To get into this place of centeredness, into oneness with ourselves, can you share something that the audience can walk away with to remind them of the habit? I don't even want to say practice, because I think it needs to become a habit. It needs to become automatic, and something that if we don't do, we feel like we're missing a deep connection within ourselves. Is there something that you can share with the audience today to help with that?
We're constantly caught in reaction. And I feel that the key is how to move from reaction into response. And the only way that we can innovate this within our soma, within our bodies, is if we detach, feel stillness, observe. It's actually rather like, I remember a wonderful American client of mine. We were actually in Komombo, which is the temple of Sobek, the crocodile, the dark one, and Horus, the light. So there are two.
I love the dark temple. Yes, yes.
Which one? And of course, I always say to my retreatees, there was wonderful people that come with me on retreat. Okay, so you want to go that side or that side? And it's interesting because Horus is on the left and Sobek is on the right, whereas we normally think the left is sinister, you know, but the light is there and they all go towards the light and say, wait a moment, are you sure? Anyway, so, and somebody said, oh, you detach, feel stillness, observe. Oh, stop, drop, and roll. Which is an ancient first aid technique, isn't it? Particularly in the face of fire.
Right.
Stop, drop, and roll. So maybe it's stop, drop, and roll. And what that does is it brings us back into stillness. So that we get focused in that nth of a second, whatever the drama is, because we all know that whenever we've been pitched against something huge in our lives, if someone dies, if we're in an accident, something happens inside us which goes immensely still, and we know what to do.
Yeah.
I was in a situation just a week or so ago, which was just came out of nowhere, where I'd been here writing most of the weekend, and I suddenly realized I needed a few supplies to create dinner. And I had two friends coming, you know, so I thought, oh, I'll get some pasta, you know, it'd be very easy. So I went, you know, it's freezing cold here. So I put a coat on and went to the local grocery store. And as I was coming back, I took a slightly longer route so that I could have a little bit of fresh air and walks. I've been sitting on my butt all day. And I noticed as I was walking in this very quiet street that there was this black limo crawling the sidewalk in tempo with me. And I thought, this is really weird. And the internal light was on, and the guy who was driving was leaning over going like this. So I thought, oh, well, I'll be a good citizen. I'll go and share something with, and he rolled the window down electrically. And he said, Heathrow, Heathrow, Heathrow. And I said, Heathrow, the airport? Very good. What do you mean? Anyway, he was trying to get to Heathrow, he said, but he couldn't read the GPS. I was immediately very doubtful, but I thought, I'll be a good citizen. And so the door opened and I got in, and I noticed I didn't close the passenger door, because it's obviously in the UK, it's on the left, not on the right, you know, because the driver is on the right. I left it a little bit open. So I start working the GPS for him. And you know me, I'm not the great technologist, but I'm working it. And suddenly as I'm doing this, programming it for Heathrow, I realized that there's a pistol in my chest. There's a gun in my chest. And I looked at him. I mean, this all happened so quickly. And I said, oh, don't be so ridiculous. Banged the gun out of his.
Wow.
It fell on the floor. I leapt out, slammed the door and said, oh, for God's sake. And then walked. Now, I believe that it's that stillness, do you see? It's that deep, deep, deep knowing. Now, of course, we've prepared our neurology to feel this.
Yeah.
We have to, repetition is the mother of skill. Repetition is the mother of skill. We have to keep repeating. It's like what I was saying earlier. We're so pixelated that we break up in our consciousness, whereas we bring ourselves back into the light. Focus means the light. It's the hearth that we look into in the fire, and it stills us. We get really still inside, and then heaven knows what else will happen. I mean, the supernatural nature of our being completely opens up, and the doors between earth and heaven open. So
beautiful. I love your story and the way that you're expressing it. And again, repetition. And it's so beautiful. I really think that a lot of y'all who come back to BTO on a continuous basis, it's the repetition of even being in this energy with me and Stewart and other guests, and a lot with Stewart. It's that you can feel that state of presence. Yeah. In the now moment. It's like, and it just slows things down, and you can feel yourself relaxing into yourself and relaxing into an environment that supports that. It's beautiful. And what if we did that on a consistent basis? And when we are not in that, it becomes so visceral. Again, we feel it so somatically, profoundly somatically, whatever. But again, it becomes so obvious of the calibration and we're attuning to that, then our free will and choice really starts to take over, rather than our biological chemistry that's responding to a stimulus that is very reptilian. So it's fascinating. Stewart, you mentioned it earlier, and I want to get into, before we get into Q&A and before we get into the special offer. The special offer, by the way, is it includes a private session with Stewart, one-on-one session, which I highly recommend, and he'll open it up to accommodate everybody. So take advantage of it. But you mentioned the concept of playing small. Well, who do you think you are? You're not supposed to know this. And I really, the time has come that the trumpets are singing for all of us to wake up, and it's time. It is time to know that playing small and the comfort of that and the fear of who we are and the bigness of how we can create is something that can't keep perpetuating in our reality if we want. It's not even if we want. If this world is going to continue in a way that faith and hope and joy and the potential of what can be is to come to fruition. And I love it if you can talk more about that and really inviting others into the fullness rather than into, let me shrink for the sake of, I don't know why anymore.
Yeah, I love this. It's because it takes us into the quintessence, I think, of what I believe, rather, of what we both hold so dear about the experience of what it is to be alive on this planet, and particularly at this time, as you say. The challenge, I mean, I'd like to sort of deal with the negative first and then go into nirvana, go into paradise, because we're asking, how do we get into paradise, which is the heart spa, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first thing is that we're running around like headless chickens trying to find our purpose. I mean, the majority of the people who come to me, and hundreds of people are coming at the moment, they're saying, I want to know what my purpose is. I want to know what my purpose is. And there's this fixation with the mental body that it has to be to do with ticking boxes. And, you know, am I a pilot? Am I a mother? Am I a this? Am I a that? Am I a teacher? Am I a healer? And of course, within our particular sanctuary or communion of souls, many people have been very deeply moved by a crisis, have healed somewhat, and now want to become healers, which is beautiful. And healing is a movement back to wholeness, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So I try to dismay the person, not by disorientating them, but just by simply saying, oh, I can tell you what your purpose is. And they say, oh, really? So I said, yes, it's not the feat that you think it is. Our purpose is to optimize our creativity full of love and joy so that we live the greatest and the grandest version of ourselves. Now, it could be baking a cake. It could be making you know, creating dinner. It could be writing a book. It could be healing. It could be walking the Camino Real to create immense investment through donation for a cancer charity. Or it could be what I'll be doing in a few weeks' time, because the UN have just asked me, would I fly to Ukraine to hold workshops that will be chant workshops to bring as many people together so that we can create solidarity and healing. And it's a war zone, but I'm very willing to go there because I feel called, you know, it feels very genuine. Does that mean I'm frightened? Yes, but feel the fear and do it anyway. So if we can actually move into that space of the conviction is, I want to create my greatest dream, because my greatest dream is the purity of my being. It's the excellence of my being. It's the wonder of my being. We automatically take a quantum leap. And when we take a quantum leap, it's always supported by the sacred ones, by the holy ones who are here immediately. You know, I mean, being an angel person, I'm always going on about, well, your guardian angel is here, and your guardian angel is called a genie, and will always, when you call them in, will always give you genius. That's what genie means. It's the core element, the derivation of genius. You know, that Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, they believed that you know, because it was common at that time in the sense that they had a guardian angel called a genie. They didn't believe, you know, Michelangelo didn't believe that he painted the Sistine Chapel. He believed that the angel worked through him. Now, obviously, what he had done is to prepare his body as a technician, as a painter. So he knew his skills, but then he was waiting for divine inspiration. And it happens with all of us, doesn't it? That we need to just bring ourselves into the stillness and stop fretting another cup of coffee, another cigarette, another drink, another candy, whatever, of just bringing ourselves into stillness and asking for that moment of teach me what you will have me think, teach me what you have me feel, teach me what you will have me do, teach me what, and then the vision comes. And there's our purpose. But I'm sure you're finding this. I know we've talked about your own personal circumstances and how you've morphed in life over the years. I'm now living my 7th incarnation within this one incarnation. You know, when I think I started life as an actor, and now I'm doing this. It's extraordinary. And I'm sure that I'll go on, you know, I'm 70 this year, and I'll go on and I'll do something else. Morphing.
Yeah, I really feel like we're spiraling up instead of going through incarnations and reincarnating again and going through the birth process again. That's karmically, if you will, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Sir, I want to get into Q&A with the audience because we promised that, and I just can feel what's coming through. So if y'all want to ask your personal questions, raise your hand or type a question into the chat box, and I'll start promoting some of y'all to panelists right now. Before we do that though, Stewart, let's get into your special offer. April, if you wouldn't mind, type the link in the chat box, or everybody can also go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Stewart27, and it'll take you to that same page where you can purchase your session and discover more of what Stewart's offering with us. But Stewart, guide us through what everybody's going to receive when they participate with you.
So firstly, there's the soul reading, which we've been talking about, which is really a destiny check. You know, I've reached this point in my chronology and the shit's hitting the fan, or actually I'm feeling really, really great, but I don't quite know which direction I need to go in, or I'm stuck. You know, it's either one of those 3 things. And so what I do is I release the energies of stuckness and allow the individual to see that thought creates reality, but it's really feeling that optimizes the creativity, because feeling is the language of the soul, and the whole of our cosmos is based. That's what miracle mindedness really means. It's based on feeling. You know, it's based on the pure delight, the expansion, the abundance of love. You know, God didn't wake up in the morning and think, oh, I don't think I'll create a planet today. I'm feeling a little bit tired. You know, God was completely involved in the wonder and the adventure playground of it all, you know. So the first thing is this very profound state. And although I sit here as a human, I'm really a hologram for the 12 angels of Atlantis. So they take over me. Now, that doesn't mean to say that I become ridiculous and start behaving in an odd way, but they literally do function through me, so that immediately the pulsations of light are felt. And of course, people can probably hear, I use my voice to spell. I use my voice to create spells and to evoke certain things, and particularly through the heart, really working through my note, because that's how the angels travel. Now, where that goes is myriad, because it all depends on the uniqueness of our individuality. But essentially, it's always about bringing us back into the light, that healing is a movement back to wholeness, that being a spiritual individual is about a movement back to wholeness. So how can we come back into all oneness, the all oneness of unity consciousness? And then, of course, we need to realize that devotion, dedication, and discipline are what we're being asked of. Think of discipline as discipleship, that we're really being asked to dedicate ourselves and be devoted, so we're consistent and sustainable about our path. Not perhaps I'll do, no, perhaps, maybe, shall I? No, we have to stop that and really, really evoke within us this extraordinary possibilities. So the second offering is a prayer that the angels have given me, which is a reworking of the great invocation of bringing light fully into our bodies. And it's designed in a scroll, so it's wonderful for people to print it out. And then, oh, I always use the wrong word, and you always laugh. I use a European word, and you say, I think you mean acetate. Is that right?
to laminate it or to acetate it.
Laminate, that's right. Sorry, not acetate, laminate. I must remember this, lamination. So that's the second. The third is then another scroll, so they can be literally used as posterns or gateway on one's altar, you know, that sacred vessel where we go to our altar to be altered, which is the reason of it. And it's called the portal of transcendence. So you have the scroll of the great invocation and the portal of transcendence, which awakens consciousness within. And then the last, I've been very economic about my offerings on this occasion, because I wanted to distill them into a mighty, impactful series of vehicles. The last is the angelic pineal meditation that Uriel gave me, which is my voice on a visual audio recording of evoking, it's a beautiful meditation, but it opens up the crystalline diamond light that we are being given from the pineal, which is opening phytoluminescent chemicals. So a lot of the people that I've been working with for a number of years are using it as they chant, and they say the room lights up.
Wow. Wow.
I could go on, but in simplicity, that's basically it.
Basically it. And again, just the session by itself, it's half the price of what Stewart charges typically for a 1-hour session. So to have these scrolls and to be able to acetate them, laminate them, is wonderful. And what a tool. And the illumination of the room, it's something that I experienced. I was in a dark room retreat where I was in a dark room for 6 days, and that activation, you start having those hallucinations, the pineal activations naturally. And so that people are having those experiences through these meditations, through the scroll and these activations that you're offering is profound. It's so amazing.
Well, thank you, John. It's really, I was initiated into this about 30 years ago with a Native American shaman that I worked with in New Mexico, beautiful painted arrow. And one part of my initiation was he took me into his kiva, which was below Mesa, 13 feet down. So he opened up a trap door in the middle of the desert, and there was a wooden ladder going down, which he'd made. And you go down, he closed the trap door in pitch black, and it's 13 feet in diameter, 13 feet deep. And I heard him moving around and, trying to see. And suddenly he started chanting and the whole space lit up.
Wow, I'm getting the chills.
So I went, wow, will you teach me? So he said, okay, I'll teach you. So that's what's happening. And of course, you and I know, because we've been to Egypt so many times, that though that's how they created the tombs. The priests painted hieroglyphically all the temples. They would chant and the whole place would light up.
Amazing. Oh my God. The special offer, y'all, take advantage of it. It's $197. There's a 2-payment option. It's all Stewart and this connection and just the magic really that we're all stepping into. You have access to it. Get in resonance with those who can create it and see what you can create or amplify within yourself and your capacity to do so. So wonderful. The link again is in the chat box, or go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Stewart27. And Stewart, I'm dying to get into live Q&A. I'm seeing these.
Yeah. Let's go there.
So let's go into Michelle, let's start with you. If you can unmute, please. And before we go any further, when I call on you, if I can't hear you, I'll ask you. So don't worry about if I can hear you or not. I'll let you know. And find your mute button. So when I call on you, we don't have to kind of scuffle around trying to find it. And with that little bit of housekeeping, Michelle, if you would, what's your question for Stewart today?
Oh, hi, Stewart. Hi, John. I would love Stewart's assistance, because I was told recently, which was a surprise to me because I grew up Catholic and with the angels, and then I came out of the indoctrination of religion and now diving into spirituality and enjoying that like a sponge. But now recently a channel told me that I am of the angelic realm. So I thought, what? What does that, what do I do now? I am not very angelic usually. Like I I'll drop the odd F-bomb. I can be a pusher, a controller. I try to be a good human being. I worked a whole career of service that I just completed. But to be of the angelic realm, it feels a bit daunting to me. Do I have to change, be different? How do I maneuver through that? Thank you,
No,
Stewart.
you see, because bless you, darling. It's lovely to meet you. It's the revelation that came to you and the awakening, the epiphany that you had is confirming that you are in connection with the angels. Now, let's get one thing straight. Humans are humans and angels are angels.
Mm.
It's not the human beings that are angels. Humans are humans and angels are angels. But because we're feeling this transcendental consciousness opening, and like yourself, some of us are reinventing ourselves because we're no longer relating to the religiosity of angels and all the indoctrination of what that meant. And the number of radio programs I'm on, I was on one the other day with a very famous broadcaster saying, okay, I'm really interested about the fallen angels. And of course, the first thing I said was, well, I'm sorry, I don't subscribe to the belief that there were fallen angels. I believe that that was a construct of the early temple. Why would angels be fallen? It's just a moment to reflect on. It somehow abnegates us of our own essential responsibility for being naughty. So the reason why it was said to you is because of the purity that you have, because your love vibrates through every cell of your body. We could all feel it when you were speaking earlier. It's your love. You said yourself, but my conviction has been a pathway of service. So you're a human angel, do you see?
Mm.
So I can still be human.
Oh, please, what the church would say, blaspheme as much as you can. No, I mean, your humanity is, you're a child of God. So your humanity, your play, your naughtiness, as well as your innocence and your purity, all of that, it's the rich chiaroscuro, the kaleidoscope of what we are all about. But you're a good person, do you see? You don't, if we reflect on what's happening just 2 hours away from where I am at the moment, there's nothing cruel about you. There's nothing vile about you. There's nothing vicious about you. And they're just points of identification. That doesn't mean to say that if I were with somebody like that, I would judge them. No, we're all God's children. But I would not stand there, as you heard my story just now, with a pistol in my chest, a loaded pistol. I'm not going to sit there and say, whatever, shoot me. No, I mean, come on, don't be so ridiculous.
That's wonderful. But Michelle, I'll have to tell you, my guides will come in and say, you need to say this and this to so-and-so. I'm like, you've got to be effing kidding me. And I don't say effing. It's like, you've got no, it's like, you're going to have to give me something else. What's the card that you pulled, Stewart?
I have, this is the first oracle. I have two that the angels have given me that I, created for them, of the angels of Atlantis. And, you're a messenger. It's obvious to us all. It's just you're beginning to see this. And so Gabriel comes in, who is the divine messenger. And the card is inspiration. So in other words, the orb that you see here, because when the angels came to me in '87, they came as orbs, and I still see them as orbs. I would love to see a human being with wings, but I've never, I mean, I can imagine that, but I've never seen one. And I've actually seen an angel become human to help with a crisis and then disappear suddenly. But mostly they come to me as orbs. And what's happening is that the divine light, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but the divine light is shining to you on earth. And the light is this Christos, this diamond silver white ray, which is being given to you. Inspiration, inspirare, inspirazione. It means of divine influence. So the angels are literally talking with you. And your aura is huge. It's difficult via Zoom to really see energetic aura, but my sensing is that it's huge. And you have all of this extraordinary pastel color within your field. So I'm pretty sure that that's what the psychic or the healer saw and said, but you are of the angelic kingdoms, because the angels are around you. They love you.
It's beautiful. And Michelle, I want to ask you, but through Stewart, because this goes back to my question of staying small or really stepping into our awareness. So you receive this information, Michelle. What do you do with it? What is it do we do in doubt of it, of not knowing, or who do you know yourself to be that, okay, maybe the way it's interpreted is somebody else's projection, but you know the essence of that within yourself already. What do you do with that? And Stewart, what do we do with that?
Who first? Michelle.
Michelle, you first, yeah.
Well, and when you said playing small earlier, that really hit me in my heart, because I didn't even want to ask that question about being told I was of the angelic realm, because I thought, whatever, like I've always played small. I've always wanted to be under the radar, and I've done some cool things in my 58 years. But it doesn't help me to be of service to other people or to myself if I'm playing small all the time and not allowing my light to shine.
Mm-hmm. So playing small is really a vessel that was superimposed into you, wasn't it, through childhood? Because your wonder, your awe, your innocence, your playfulness, your naughtiness was being checked by the caregivers or the caretakers on the outside of you. And really what they were feeling is that they were feeling your wonder and your power and your grace. And it reminded them of the fact that they'd lost theirs. So they decided to corral you. And so, you know, because of your sensitivity, because of your great care and love and delicacy, you thought, okay, well, I'm going to play small because I don't want them to be uncomfortable. And now is the time to realize, wait a moment, as you've just said. And so you're developing the conviction, and that's why the angels are coming in, because the conviction is a force multiplier, do you see? That when they come in, you'll feel their light around you. I have never been in the presence of angels and not felt amazing joy. So the joy will literally positively infect you. The light will fill your cells, all over 100 trillion cells, more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. I mean, you are a star wrapped in skin, and your aura will expand, and people will say, oh my God, you look amazing. And you'll say, do I? Oh, well, yeah. And then suddenly there you are, you know, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, or whatever. Boris is your uncle and Tatiana is your aunt. You know, we have a Russian conversation going on at the moment because of what's happening in Ukraine. I hope that helps.
Very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and Michelle, thank you for igniting this conversation, because I think it's serving lots of people here, including myself, because we're always the asking. And for me, Stewart, I have to say that even in the playing small, it's not even a judgment anymore. It's like, oh, I've decided to kind of contract a little. Interesting. Okay. How does it feel for me? Maybe I want to play here for a little bit. Maybe I want to relate to someone for whatever reason in this space, but I'm recognizing more through the curiosity of joy rather than the curiosity of judgment, that I have the option to choose and to have a relationship with either what's emanating and growing within me, or what wants to contract and ask perhaps why, or understand that I'm there. And it's through that awareness and through that non-judgment, we can discern, like Stewart said earlier, my body's hurting. I feel confused. I feel like I'm got thrown into a blender that's not mine. It's like, oh, that's discernment. It's not judgment. The judgment is I'm doing something wrong. No, you're just choosing. And as long as we're aware that we're choosing, then the choices remain open, which is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I remember, you know, this was all with us when we were children, wasn't it? You know, the spiritual toolkit is alive and wakened within us. Yeah. It's just that our external experience somehow corrals us into another experience. And so we get caught in duality. Mm-hmm. And I always remember, you are nothing and you will always be nothing. That's what I was told by my teachers. And then I thought, oh, what's the point of talking? I'll just shut up. So I shut up for 2 years. I self-muted. And it gave me this opportunity of getting really still. I mean, I was only 7 or 8, but I got really still inside, which allowed me to observe, which is why when John was saying earlier, what would you suggest here? I would say detach, feel stillness, observe. And because I didn't have to be responsible for doing anything, because I couldn't do it properly, they said. Anyway, and then I suddenly began to see more clearly that those people over there have light all over them. And those people over there have a lot of darkness all over them. Well, those people over there, they're harmonized through delight, through pleasure, and through joy. And they're so kind. And those people over there, they're so mean. They're constantly punishing us with, mostly I'm talking about school environment. And they just look so wizened and, you know, contorted. So guess what? I thought, well, thank you. I'm going to go to the light. So I've just spent the whole of my life going to the light. Sometimes I make mistakes. We all err. But most of the time I go to the light, even if it means, you know, like 10, 12 years ago, I had to face a really big crisis. And it meant that I resigned all of my establishment positions, not know what was going to happen, with my friends saying, why are you doing this? Where's the money going to come from? You know, et cetera, all of that stuff. And I said, I will always be looked after by the universe. And 12 years later, it's just been the most amazing ride of going to the light.
12 years, that's about the same for me. It's like, you're crazy. What are you doing? How are you getting this? It's like, it's all provided. It's all provided. So interesting, the timelines. Wizened, I learned a new word. I love it. I'm going to use it. Let's go to another. Well, actually, I want to read a question that came in from Nanika. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She writes, hi, Stewart. I'm wondering, after all this time of changes in my life, shamanism, soul coaching, healing modalities, why do I still not recognize why I feel stuck in this in-between?
Oh, you asking me?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, can you I can't see the question. Where is
Well,
it?
let me read it again, and maybe it's the way I'm reading it also. So I'm wondering, after all of this time of changes in my life, I've worked with shamanism, soul coaching, healing modalities, why do I still not recognize why I feel stuck?
Oh, wow, what a question. I think this is absolutely brilliant. Leading edge question. Okay, this is fascinating. Why? Because we're seeing the schism that lies within us. Because if it, my darling, if it's happening for you, it's happening for us. Because whatever's on the outside is on within the side. You know, this is a screen for our consciousness. It's not happening to us, it's responding to us. So what it's indicating is that we're so cerebralized that we feel that we control the whole world through here, or our immediate environment. So it's all about tick the box, 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 tick the box. And actually now what we're realizing is that's no longer happening. It's like a person who came to see me yesterday and they said, look, I've read all the books. I have an MA or a PhD in metaphysics. I've been a healer for the last 25 years, but nobody's coming to my practice. And I said, okay, so to be honest, thus far, all you've done is to tell me what you are. You haven't told me who you are. Who are you? What does your heart say in all of this? And suddenly she dropped into her heart. And I said, okay, now we can start to work, because this is who we are. We're here. Our purpose is to optimize our creativity full of love and joy. It doesn't matter what we do, as long as we're in delight and joy and abundance and expansion. I'm as big as the universe. This feels absolutely extraordinary. Oh my God, look, I've just seen a sign, that piece of synchronicity. That person just smiled at me. How amazing. Etc. etc. That's our purpose, do you see? And that's what the universe or the cosmos is made of. So, in other words, what's happened is that we become fixated with the cerebral, and now we're being asked to drop into the soma of our beings. And then the stuckness ceases, because when we say we're stuck, it means we're not in flow. If we're not in flow, we're not grounded, we're not earthed, and therefore we're not part of the flowing currency of the cosmos, principally because we're holding our breath. Breath is the flow. Breath is inspiration. Start breathing and you become, you know, breathing in is called inspiration, breathing out is called expiration. But inspiration from the Latin means to be of divine influence. And so, you know, just to remind us, there's that wonderful line in Genesis where it says, and God breathed on the surface of the waters and brought forth life. And God breathed into the nostrils of man, and man became a living soul. So if we breathe, we come back into connection with God. The trouble is that we're so traumatized by stress and I'm not good enough, and I will always not be good enough, and I'm going to play small, etc., that we don't breathe and come back into union with the divine.
Beautiful. It reminded me to breathe on this call. It's like, oh yeah, even more deeply, just that life that flows through. It's beautiful. Thank you, Stewart. And thank you, Nanika, for writing in. Were you pulling a card?
Absolutely. Is this for you?
It's for Nanika.
It's for Nanika.
Yes.
I love it.
Love.
It's Sandalphon, this beautiful amber orb, who is the planetary guardian and therefore the guardian of our physical experience. And what Sandalphon is saying is that really you are in touch with the love light circuitry of the Christos. It's the pure love of the Christ-like, which of course is completely unconditional. You see, it's got nothing to do with conditions. And this is what John and I were talking about earlier, that the Christ consciousness is open. And so we're removing ourselves from this fixation of seeing someone hanging on the cross. And we're now seeing that the resurrected one is taking place. You see, the light is here. This is the second coming that we're engaged in. You realize that. This is the great wave of consciousness, which is the second coming. Saint Germain is the cosmic Christ. So what he is suggesting, he, she, it is suggesting, is that that energy of the Christ light through Saint Germain is being rayed or beamed into all of us. And this is the revolution of the empaths. And John and I know we've talked about this before on other calls, other summits, that empathy is our superpower.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Amen to that. All right, let's go to another caller. Elizabeth, let's go to you. Let's get you to unmute, please. And welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Stewart.
Hi.
Hi.
What you are is a lot of light is what you are. And yes.
so much to piggyback on, but a life of service is certainly what has kept me on the earth plane. I have been way more idealistic than materialistic. And consequently, I ironically find myself as a vagabond. My discipline, dedication, devotion, I have this passion for taking that mundane connection most people view of the food from the earth to our temple bodies and making that daily path sacred. And that's been my passion for a real long time. So my question is, how do I transform a mentality that has kind of eschewed money so that I can bring in a way to ground and be of service here?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, if we see that money is really a vehicle, a currency, a current, to achieve, we're here to optimize our creativity full of love and joy. We are from the source and we're here to optimize our creativity full of love and joy. So the question is that the money comes when we're engaged in the pure playfulness of joy, delight, expansion. This is wonderful. I feel so amazing. This is well-being. Then suddenly the money comes. As soon as we start worrying about money, that is all about the anthem of our scarcity, and it stops coming. Because there is no scarcity. You see, all there is abundance. But what we do, because we live duality, is we think ourselves into it. So you said it at the beginning of your wonderful revelation, is that you've been more idealistic than grounded. So if I may take that further and say, well, there's the idealistic and there's the pragmatic. So again, it's another idea of the schism between the head, the ideals and the philosophy of the head, the intellect, tick the box, tick the box, tick the box. And now, well, what is your body wanting? And your body is wanting you to feel this slipstream of energy, just as when you're driving, you feel free. And it gives you joy, and you love driving fast, I hear.
Not in a car. I like moving fast.
Okay, you like moving fast. Okay, so I'm hearing that you have a lot of mobility that goes fast, and I see you. You're in your chariot. So I thought, okay, well maybe it's within the car, but you love moving fast. So it's this ability to be able to move fast, but also to be in flow and to have absolute fun in every moment. So one of the great things I would suggest starting to say is, I'm infinitely abundant in spirit. I have lots of money and my wealth grows every day. I'm infinitely abundant in spirit. I have lots of money and my wealth grows every day. I am infinitely abundant in spirit. I have lots of money and my wealth grows every day.
Wow.
And then you see the worry ceases. You know, what's the point of worrying when you can pray? Start praying rather than worrying. And then I am infinitely abundant in spirit. I have lots of money. And automatically something happens. It happened to me just the other day because suddenly I was hit with this huge tax bill. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, right after COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, okay, well, you're really talking about the fact that, you know, you're full of scarcity, Stewart. So start getting abundant. And the first thing was that I started saying, I'm infinitely abundant in spirit. I have lots of money and my wealth grows every day. And I took myself for a walk because I knew that I was becoming indolent in my body and I needed to flow in my body. So I was walking along and every single person I looked at was smiling at me. So I absorbed all of the rays of their delight until I got to the 10th person. And I said, is there anything wrong with me? Why do you smile? And they said, no, it's just that you have so much light coming out of you. Are you a healer? And I said, why are you asking the question? They said, well, I've got lots of money and I feel I want to donate some money to you. And they gave me £50, you know, which is like, I don't know, $80.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, do you see? So
we're gonna have to have a show on money, Stewart. We're gonna have to have that as a talk. There's so much to share, and of course it's so much more than about money, but it's an energetic that
it's purely about energy. Yeah.
And we can't deny it. And it wants to love us, and we have the right to love it as well. But there's a lot that gets misconstrued about our power with it, our purpose with it, our deservingness of it, and so many other aspects. It's something that we can disentangle together and provide portals for it. And I'm sure in your sessions also you go into aspects of that.
Hugely, because we're talking about flow, aren't we? We're here to flow, and money increases. It accelerates mobility. You see, that's what money does. It just allows you to, you know, to get. I don't have any money for the gas. Okay, well, your car's going to sit in the garage until you get some money for gas, and then suddenly there is mobility. So we can believe ourselves into mobility. We're into something. I just wanted to show you this because this comes through again. It's Sandalphon, who is the planetary guardian, and is talking about the practicalization or the pragmatic, you know, moving away from the mental body into the physical body, because the guardian of the planet means that Sandalphon is really activating the whole of your physiology. And what this card suggests is a planetary cycle marker, which is what the attribution is. So in other words, the constellation of your birth chart, there's something remarkable happening in your birth chart. Otherwise, this card wouldn't come. So if you can tune into you know what it is.
Well, yes and no. I have a Pisces sun at 9 degrees. So this new moon, Jupiter, Neptune, a lot is being activated right now.
Absolutely.
Chiron,
So that's
I just turned 64. I just had a birthday.
Fantastic. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah,
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Which is the number 10, and number 10 is the makers. And that's the magic, you see, because when this card comes, it means your whole life is going to turn 180 degrees.
Oh, good.
Amazing. Beautiful, Elizabeth. Thank you for bringing your light on.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, both of you. So blessed. Blessings to you.
As are we, and blessings to you as well. Okay, Andrea, let's go to you now. Hello, Andrea.
Hello. Hi.
Andrea. Now, do I know you, Andrea?
Yes,
You know
yes,
it.
I've had the greatest fortune to have worked with you. About a year and a half ago, we had a
Right.
session, and whenever you're on here, it works that I can be present, and
Oh,
I
wow.
often
Wow.
get called on. And hello, John, and everyone.
Hello.
And just I'm getting a blessing during this whole call today. Reminders, and I'm very excited. I just feel like
Oh,
a lot
bless
of
you.
energy. Yeah.
So
I
what's your question for Stewart?
want to show you, this is the card that's been on my altar this
Oh,
last 2 weeks.
I love it.
And this card, I think subliminally helped me kick into getting a little lighthearted and more fun in a lot of the things I've been, I came out here to help my brother. I was like, really managing his life. And I've hit this point where I'm kind of like, it's pretty together. It can kind of cruise. And I noticed I had to like take off the cloak of like that, just, you know, like I'm not just taking care of me, I'm taking care of him, and things are pretty stable with him. But a lot of money stuff came in lately. And so, you know, I found my way in through my inertia, or maybe some fear or scarcity thoughts, was that I have to make things fun. There's something about where I am in this phase where it's got to be fun, and however I need to twist it in my mind and embody it in my body and my heart. And I've had a real, like, this week things are just going, oh, okay, this is handled now, and this is handled now, and you know, all the little stuff. And the tax thing, you know, it happened to me too, like, really, I owe that? And it made me kind of freak out. But I want to bring into focus that so many things have occurred, like you said, what happened for me here. And I finished my book just a month ago.
Well done. Well done.
Amazing, Andrea. Andrea, so what's your question for
Well,
Stewart? We have a lot of people wanting to ask questions.
my
Yes.
question is, I'm going to start formatting it in a couple of weeks. So I'm juggling that and my brother, and I'm polishing myself to come out with this book. And I don't know, it's not totally a question. I just wanted to be in the presence of your impression around what's you're getting.
Well, I mean, your brother represents the past and your book represents the future. So you're in this beautiful juxtaposition, aren't you, of resolving the karma of family constellation and this wonderful gift that you are in his life by allowing him to feel your love in his desolation. And then the book is about how all of that is communicated to a much broader communion of folks who are going to be receiving the wonder and the wisdom and the beauty of your book. Absolutely, we're here to have a good time. We're not here to have a difficult time. And you and I have both been with people who often have nothing, and yet they're joyous. Some of the people that I meet in Egypt, you know, they're very ordinary people who are living what we call a subsistence. And there they are, there's Papa with Mama and about 6 children, and yet they still invite you into their homes and provide you with tea. And they're probably living on under $1 a day, but they're so full of joy.
It's really interesting for me also because what I also feel is happening through our what we will call dense experiences or experiences of sacrificing for the sake of others. For example, you being there for your brother. What was the gift in that? And really, when we go in and can have gratitude for, it's like, but wait, it allowed me to stop and resonate into my book or add different energy to it, or whatever it was to get to this place of completion. It's and. And I think that we're rewriting future timelines because we're rewriting past timelines based on our perception of what we thought got taken away from us, and rather acknowledging the gift that was actually in it, that was there for us all along. And so there's a reconfiguration of timeline interpretation and judgment, which is also healing aspects of our fragmented souls as they integrate with the alignment of the energy of gratitude and abundance. Profound.
Yeah, that's mega. Wow. Who's speaking with you? I mean, obviously Michael is there, because you've just shown us the enchantment card. And you know, do check out, everybody, the Beyond the Tribe Facebook page, because there's a special something happening on Sunday, which would be lovely for you to tune into, which is Rich and Magic, which is something I'm creating to allow us to wise up on what's taking place in the world as an extension of our own psyche. And again, it's the same card that came up, you see.
Beautiful.
So it's interesting, isn't it? The planetary guardian, the physicalization of what we dream into creation, that this is all about the time for somatization. And isn't it ironic? You know, we've just finished 2 years of a global pandemic, and, you know, in the global stillness of the global pause, rather than what we all call the global lockdown, I call it the global pause, we were introduced to this extraordinary tempi where we could really feel the Divine Mother talking to us in the stillness. Have we allowed that to inform ourselves, or were we just simply consumed by fear? Well, COVID's gone. Look how fast it's gone. And now we have another global crisis. So evidently, karma is being burned off so that we can really hunker down into our bodies and realize that our bodies are these extraordinary pleasure palaces. Again, going back to the title of this particular contribution, the Angel Heart Spa, of how can we hunker down in the spa? And if you haven't been to a spa for a long time, ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening right now, please go and have a spa treatment.
Wonderful.
That's so good.
Andrew, congratulations on everything that's coming up for you, and your next phase of joy and freedom. So beautiful.
The book. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Thank you so much for calling in. Wonderful. All right, let's go. I want to take another caller. Where did you go? Julia, I am so guided to call on you. Welcome.
Really?
Yes, really. Hi.
My goodness. Hello.
Hi, I recognize a British voice there.
Yeah, I'm from London.
And where are you? Are you in London?
I'm slightly overwhelmed. I'm in the Malvern Hills.
Oh, beautiful, darling. Well, that's a very special place in the United Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen.
It is. It's a magical place, and I'm very, very grateful to live here. And I have a completely charmed life. And I can't believe I'm speaking to Stewart and John. And I have been listening to this show for the last, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years. And I think you're all amazing. And I'm so grateful for this show that has transformed my life. I feel a little bit adrift at the moment. And for example, Malvern is a really lovely place, but it's full of really normal people. So it's like finding a way to communicate, particularly, sorry, I'm feeling really emotional. It's partly because of the war, and I'm just completely overwhelmed with just wanting to be able to help and bringing the light in and sending the light out to all the beautiful people of Ukraine and all the Russians. And even I'm trying to send love to President Putin. And I'm finding that really, really hard. And I wonder if you can help me with that a little bit.
What a beautiful sentiment, you know, that you want to help on this level. And it shows what an awakened soul you are. You know, I mean, I feel very blessed being here because you all take your soul so seriously. Wow. And this is what the whole of my life has been about, you know, these moments of being with people who are in a communion of souls. So rather than you sending your love to Mr. Putin, why don't you ask one of the angels to do it for you?
Of course. So I knew it would be simple. I knew it would be simple.
And who comes through? I just shuffled the Oracle of the Angels of Atlantis, and who comes through? It's the card that we were just being shown. It's Michael, this beautiful amethyst orb. Michael works very closely with Saint Germain, you see. So, as the cosmic leader, works with the violet flame, the flame of transmutation. But the card is bringing in the magic of the unicorn and asking you to move into the forests of the enchanted. So it's using magic and mythic presence, because you're very magical, I feel. Otherwise, there's no way that you would be living in that particular vortices of the Malvern Hills and the extraordinary purity of the crystalline vessel of the water within the hills. So you're being asked to use magic. So ask Michael to be your go-between, because you're a sensitive, my darling. And so, oh, I've lost you from the screen. Oh, there you are. So what's happening is that as soon as you open yourself up to send those prayers, you meet Mr. Putin's field, which at the moment is vast, because we know that on our planet there is this schism between light and dark, and he's awakening deposits within the consciousness of the Russian peoples and also within the geology of Ukraine, which is very ancient, and it's steeped in karma that needs to be healed. So what's happening as you open yourself up is that you're feeling waves and waves and waves of all of that darkness.
Yeah.
He's re-evoking the sensibility of Stalin, you see, who is also a megalomaniac in the sense of, oh no, I must destroy. Anybody that is not in coherence with me, they will die. And that's what Mr. Putin is doing. So don't open yourself up to his field. Ask the angels to do this. I mean, I had this experience at the beginning of COVID, because I got COVID. I was in Egypt running a retreat, and I overburned myself. I just over-energized myself in protecting the people that I was with, because, just 3 days before the end of the retreat, my agent called me and said, Egypt is closing its doors. What do you want me to do? I said, well, get us out. And it took a lot of scrambling around to do that. Anyway, so I was enfeebled, I was weakened, and I came back and I was unwell. And I live alone, so I was just dealing the whole thing, rather like an animal going into a cave. I was doing my thing. And I asked the angels if they would help. So Michael, Metatron, and Radziel came forward. And Metatron said to me, would you like to meet COVID? And I said, I'm sorry. And they said, would you like to meet the force of COVID, which is rampaging around the planet at the moment? And I said, of course, my psychic detective was fascinated, but I said, I am so weak. I had a temperature 104 and, my body was aching and so forth, and I couldn't smell, all that stuff that went with COVID. And so I said, if you guys can stand in front of me and be a boundary, I'd love to have a conversation with COVID. So they did. So I was completely protected, found out what COVID wanted to talk to me about, and then COVID left.
In the conversation, another show, yes.
Yeah, there are many, it's, do we believe that we're supernatural beings or do we not? We get so located in 3D, don't we?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, because I can do it. I can be supernatural by myself in my room, in front of my altar, and I work with the angels, but it's out there facing up to, little things in my own life, but then this enormity of the global thing. And just, yes, and I agree, everything that you've said already on this call and all the other beautiful callers are really being still, coming back into the heart. I will continue to do that. And I'd really like to go deeper with this.
Well, come along and have a reading, because we can go right into the center of the constellation. As you speak, and I feel you, because it's so wonderful to feel you. You have this extraordinary porous energy field, and your heart is just so beautiful. It's so full of love. And what I'm hearing is, when you're in front of your altar, use the Ho'oponopono. Because the Ho'oponopono, it has an energy field which is so protected, you see, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
one
I forget.
thing that you've been trying to find for you know who is
Yeah, of course.
how can I forgive this?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
It's
our
beautiful.
it's our greatest test, John, isn't it? You know?
It really is. Something Julia said, and I want to invite everybody into this because again, we're talking about the bigness that we be. And Julia, you said the enormity of what's happening in the world. And on a soul level, that enormity is inviting you into the enormity of who you are. It's like, who are you? Remember who you are. It feels enormous. Match the enormity with your enormous. The magic that Stewart was bringing in immediately. I thought fairy when I saw you, but not Tinkerbell fairy, big fairy. The magic that you're capable of transmitting. And this goes for all of us on this call. The enormity of what's happening in the world is asking you to meet it in its enormity, in your enormity.
Yes.
It just is. And so let that be a beacon, a calling for you to say, yes, I can rise up. I'm beyond resilience. I'm magic. I'm divine. I'm a creator. What will you choose to create in that? With the foundation of the love that you all carry here, I don't even have to question that. So beautiful. So amazing. Julia, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
For coming on.
Amazing. That's beautiful.
Stewart, can you pull a card for the collective, for the
Collective.
for everybody who's on the call listening to the replay?
Oh, I see. Okay, let's get big, right? Let's get big. Okay, so a vast energy field has just opened. God, the angels are so wanting to be useful. Shamael, the divine guide, leading us to serenity. And the figure of the Taj Mahal, you know, the stillness and the quietude and the silence of the Taj Mahal. And yet the paradox of it, you know, because it was created, can you see it? It was created as a tomb for the wife of a Mughal, and the architect who built it was slaughtered when it was finished. Can you imagine?
Wow.
The paradox of it all. And yet it's this symbol. It's one of the wonders of the world in Accra, isn't it? You know, so serenity. I met the most amazing woman the other day who's going to come onto my program, Deep Dialogues, to have a conversation. And she's in her late 60s, and she was born into a family of a man who was a CIA and a father who was in the CIA and engaged in mind experiments of a supernatural force, and a mother who was in a satanic cult. And so that she as a child, she was the only child, was used as an experiment to see how they could manipulate her into different forms, primarily through disassociation. So as she grew, she was completely disassociated and created 350 multiple personalities. So she was considered to be mad. And over her life, she tried to find a way of reintegrating. And as she reintegrated each one of them is now reintegrated inside her in the all oneness of self. She was using the element of cosmic breath and absolute compassion. Because the interesting thing about compassion is that when we're experiencing it, unconditional love is so powerful, the stillness that drops in, we're able to drop any unwanted or fragmented part of ourselves into that space, and it's immediately healed and forgiven. Her name is Serena.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Serenity.
So beautiful. Can y'all feel that? Can y'all feel that? Everybody, we're going to run the replay. Come back and listen and get into the energy and this fertile ground that we're in right now with Stewart and all of you all. It's so beautiful. It's, again, we'll send the link out for the replay a little bit later this evening. And you can always access replays by going to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. And of course, the session with Stewart, I just can't recommend enough. It's, and so many of y'all have already written about how profound your sessions have been with them. And on top of that, you get these scrolls, these invocations, these alignments, and invitations to open even more into recognizing just how divine and light you are. It's just so beautiful. So again, I hope you guys take advantage of that. And Stewart, it's, as always, it's just, I never want to end the calls with you. They just want to keep going and going and going and expanding. But I think we're topping off in just this place where I feel full and satiated and have so much to digest, as I keep saying yes to what's being offered here. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, John. And please thank April for all of her extraordinary work. Thank you.
Of course. And thank all of y'all for just the light and the love and the enormity that you carry and the potential of what we are all choosing to awaken. I love you guys. I bow to you.
Bless you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And I look forward to seeing you in the next call. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye, John.
Bye, sir.